Hi, everyone. Steve Westman, live Audiophile Roundtable. We're going to talk Green Day, Dookie, One Step Review, Rhino Reserve. That's an interesting one. And we're going to talk way more because we've got the throwback gang today. We haven't had this look for months.
The reunion tour.
We've got George Borden, Maslov, PB Thal. This is the reunion tour, the Fab Four of the Roundtable. Welcome, guys.
They said it couldn't be done.
And it happened. The reunion happened on not Saturday Night Live. It could have been, but yeah.
Hey, Steve Westman just went live.
Okay, he went live. There you go. Everyone,
this is before Morrissey and Marr will ever get back together.
They'll never get back together. They hate each other. Right. Didn't they sue? Didn't Morrissey and Marr sue each other or something in court?
The other guys in the band sued and.
But I remember one day when they were in court, the judge basically told them that you guys are like probably some of the stupidest people I've ever seen come to court before.
I'm sure.
So funny note, when we went live, there was like 23 people, and as soon as you showed who was on screen, it dropped.
So there's only two. Oh my God, Borden's on. They got Mazzy on. Oh geez, see,
we're out of here.
See, the gang is back.
Audiophilia. Yeah.
This really this is really good. This is really like throwing it back from 2000, like COVID times, isn't it? This is a good show. But no, welcome, guys. Glad you can be part of it. George, thank you for coming on.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for dressing up today. And I know Norman had to dress up as well.
I saw you in a sport coat, so it's like dress for success. No shit ass Steely Dan t-shirt.
I got that one.
I got home from work and then I got caught up in a bunch of stuff trying to, make sure I was ready and the dog was ready and everything. So I never had a chance to change. Sorry.
So before I start, I'm going to address something here. Rhino Hi-Fi fan page. Norman, on Facebook. Patrick, you remember? I don't know if we remember. You're not.
I think so.
So this was posted today. This fellow by the name of Mark Bashita, he said, another scandal for you, Steve Westman. False advertising limited to 5,000. And he shows the pictures. The Doors live in Detroit. It's a record store day by a Rhino, and his is number 7,190. So it's not a scandal.
Is that really a big deal?
Well, I don't know. It's not a scandal.
Had the wrong quantities listed.
What happened was Record Store Day had the wrong quantities listed. They said 5,000, right? So that's not Rhino or Warner saying that. Actually, Record Store, they listed it at 5,000, which is incorrect on their website, but the total production is 8,000, so 5,500 in the U.S. and the rest of, everywhere else but the U.S. So it's not a scandal. I just wanted to show people that it's not a scandal.
Sure does feel like a scandal.
We don't need any more scandals.
Exploding on Facebook.
We know there was a digital step in the MoFi. We're done with that. Come on, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Okay, so Mazzy, big news here. I'm gonna share our screen here. You're probably familiar with this. Rhino Reserve's new premium vinyl series launches. Alan Toussaint, Southern Nights, Eddie Hazel's Games, Dames, and Guitar Thangs. What do you think?
Two fabulous records.
Eddie Hazel, I mean, if you guys don't know that, Funkadelic, right? I mean,
that Maggot Brain guitar
solo, the 10-minute guitar solo by Hazel. I mean, that's legendary, right? Absolutely legendary.
I did an error on my video. I didn't realize that Real Gone Music did one in 2017 or 18.
Yeah.
But I think that's a digital source. Either way, I hear it sounds good. I haven't heard it, and the cover won't be as great. And Warner Brothers should keep these records in print. I don't have it anymore, but Southern Nights is a really good record, and I used to have it, and it kind of went away in my 95 purge when I was going through CDs, so I only have a CD of it now, so I'm looking forward to that.
So Rhino Reserves, guys, first of all, if you check it out here, Matthew Luthans of the Mastering Lab.
Kevin Gray's apprentice.
Yeah, he's going to be mastering, and Fidelity Records is pressing it. That's the new plant in California, so it's going to be a little bit different.
What are the sources for these? Because I read this press release. I didn't see anything about the sources being used for these. So
it says say in the actual press release, it does say all analog tapes, all AAA.
Because the Eddie Hazel, I don't think it's ever been done AAA, and so I do have access to an original. I've done it like 3 times. So it's a great record. There's a great version of California Dreamin' on that record, by the way.
My question is, what is this like? What's the difference?
No tip on jacket.
They're $32, They're not gatefold, so they save not doing gatefolds. They're heavier stock though.
So they're going after like the Blue Note method of kind of having the
but the Blue Note Classics are kind of shitty thin covers. That's one thing. They won't have the OBs or the insert tape thing, so they're going to save money. It's an $8 difference. To me, if I had my choice in the whole world, I would like to have a gatefold when it's a gatefold and a single when it's a single. I don't need a Tone Poet or even a Rhino Hi-Fi. I like them. They're nice. I don't need them.
You're not getting them.
No, but it's
the Eddie Hazel, the original Eddie Hazel goes for probably like $200 on the.
Well, you're saying there's no other, there's no AAA of Eddie Hazel, right? I mean, this would be the only one.
Original that I know of. I don't think the 2017 was an OG.
I don't think the real one is that's a digital. Yeah, but I hear it sounds good. I haven't heard it though.
So those come out, I think it says here in the press release or on this here, January, if I'm not mistaken.
I applaud them doing titles like this as opposed to the same old, same old. This is the kind of stuff that they should be doing.
Now, did we? I haven't spoken to Patrick. You probably have more contact. Yeah. Do we know? These are sort of they're including them sort of within Start Your Ear Off Right.
Yeah.
But are the reserves going to be 2 every month, or do we know?
I don't know that yet.
That's a question that if you're watching, Rhino, anybody, let us know somehow. Or every other month, I hope.
I think it's great. Where they're expanding, right? It's not just the same old stuff that we talk about all the time, such as Steely Dan, right? The Doors. Heard about the Doors, right? The Beatles, Rolling Stones.
Yeah, I applaud this. I think this is exactly what I would like. Even though I'm not a huge fan of this Alan Toussaint, but I mean, there's something like this Eddie Hazel that goes for crazy money, and now you can get a nice AAA version done very nicely. For $40, that's a win for me. I mean,
$32.
But I mean, after shipping and stuff, it's probably gonna be like $40.
You can buy them in stores too.
And to me, that's what should be happening. Get these records back out there that cost a fortune. And yes, that's going to be a niche title. It's not going to be people clamoring for it like Black Sabbath, but it's worthy of a reissue, in my opinion. So
I agree.
And then Rhino Hi-Fi, they're going to have 2 more rock releases in January as well.
Oh, they are.
You're gonna let us know what those are right now?
They'd be mad at me if I did, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, they'll get over it.
Stuff that you haven't seen, so it's good.
All right.
Well, I applaud those Reserve. I did kind of mock the name, not mock it, but Reserve limited beans, Reserve wine, Reserve coffee beans, that type of thing. But it's a good idea, actually, I think.
Someone needs a weekly Doors fix. I've done a lot of Doors on this show and these shows. I mean, there it is there, and you can see I have my Doors behind me. No seam splits?
No seam splits
on mine. Didn't get seam splits either.
No stitching. No, I mean, mine sound great. My least favorite was Strange Days. It's not bad. It was brighter than my AP 45, but except for the last one, LA Woman, I think they both sound equally good, but just different. I give a slight edge to the AP 45, but on the other ones, I like these better than the AP 45s.
So you guys probably watched the Bruce Botnick interview last week. No one has posted on the Hoffman forums about Kevin's fix of the stretch tape where he had to record a digital part and then put it back in the original analog master. I haven't seen anyone post anything about that. That was something that Bruce
edit that nobody can find.
Because Bruce even said,
even Botnick about it.
No, Patrick's like, I don't know where it is. I mean, Patrick's the A&R. You should know. He didn't know because you don't know. So Kevin spent one afternoon fixing that tape up.
We know how long the segment is. We don't.
17 seconds. 17 seconds.
Is it really?
17 minutes. No.
They're never going to.
Like the Dixon tapes. The Dixon tapes like 17.
There's no scandals. There's no Rhino number scandal on that live. There's no scandal.
I mean, I'm not Kevin Gray, but I mean, I do that all the time. If I have like a skip or something like in a record that I'm recording, I will go and I'll find a CD and I'll level and I'll drop it in. And nobody's ever been able to tell ever. If you do it correctly, you don't have like a 1 minute segment. If it's just like a couple of seconds, it's easy to do.
Yeah. No one can tell where the digital part is. That's what's so funny about this. Yeah. No one can tell.
I'm a fan of 33s more than 45s anyway. So I would definitely. I have all but one of the AP45s, and I would definitely take these, the 33s, over the whole scope of things.
Well, and it's good that they're coming with the number ones in end of January, I think Patrick said. So, I mean, if you don't have the box, you don't have to get every single one. Save some money.
As long as they're in print, that's the important thing. Just keep them in print. These records should be in print.
Yeah.
And Kevin did use the original Bruce's originals to reference when he was cutting those. So that's pretty cool that he used Bruce's original Doors albums. I like that.
I have the AP45s, I have all the DCCs, I have all the originals, the quote unquote best pressings of those. And I love the AP45s, those sound phenomenal. The DCCs have their own charm, but there's also a charm to the originals. They're not the best fidelity wise, but there's just something about them, a presence about them. I can't really ever put my finger on it, but Strange Days is my best example of that one. LA Woman. There's just something about the way they sound that is distinct. And so,
well, I know that's George's probably favorite band, one of your favorite bands. I don't know if it's more if it's you like it more than the Stones, but I mean, in terms of one of the most influential groups in North America, or especially in California. I mean, they're a pretty important band. I mean, I'm glad they got a really great treatment here by Rhino. George?
Me and Mazzy had, I think, had a little back and forth about something to do with the Doors being we were talking about like who the best band in California or whatever, in the 60s or whatever. Doors, he was going for.
Who are you going for then? The Birds. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, they're totally different, right?
Oh, totally. But there was a good point that he made that I kind of went, never thought about it that way.
Okay, what was it?
Otnick said the difference between Morrison, if you put him in this light, it makes you rethink it a little bit. He's a crooner.
Yeah. Oh.
He's taken that Frank Sinatra type of Dean Martin type of vibe and having that low voice and doing that thing, and then all of a sudden it kind of makes a little sense that what he was drawing from as a musician was not what everybody else was drawing from, in some ways in the pop scene of that time.
I've always mentioned that when I talk about Soft Parade, because when you turn on Soft Parade and hear him, when he comes in and says, "Tell all the people that you see," that it's such a crooner vocal style. That album especially, plus with all the orchestration and the brass, you're absolutely right.
He was a huge fan of Frank Sinatra. When he got to the studio for the first time, I believe he's using the same microphone that Sinatra used in some of his recordings, if I'm not mistaken, as well. So he thought that was pretty cool.
I've been listening to this one, and it's one
of my favorite album covers of all time.
Yeah, totally.
Isn't that great?
I remember being a little kid looking at this going, I want to know what's on that record. Like, it just looked like there's
what is happening here. Yeah.
Cool.
Put it up. So this is pretty impressive. What year? This is 68, right? Put it up first. Or this is 67, end of 67. 67.
It's 67. Two albums.
Go to your right, because I want to show something that's interesting. So the only way it's the Doors, right there in the back, there's a poster, and that actual picture is the back of a self-titled.
Right. There was a hype sticker when it came out, and it had contains whatever, People Are Strange and whatever the thing was. But I love there's a guy, you probably don't know, but a friend of Patrick's that comes on his streams, Pip Bop Boom John, he calls the Doors circus music.
Oh, really? Why? Because of that cover?
No, because
it's the organ. It's the organ sound.
Really the organ kind of sound.
It's pretty funny, and it's sort of accurate in a weird way.
Yeah.
It's good circus music.
It's funny.
So, by the way, Rhino has done the Doors before in a box set, like in 2009. There was already it did a Doors box set many years
I had that and I sold it.
That's all digital, but but this is
what did you think of this? What did you think of that one? Did you ever listen to that one, Patrick?
I had it. It was a bit brittle for me, and they had a mono Doors that was horrible. In that
they put the two first album mono and stereo in.
But the first mono Doors album.
They had the cellophane LA Woman cover. It's not great sounding. They're digital cuts. It's okay. It has a snake skin, but a different color snake skin.
It was black. It was black.
I prefer this one in mono, not the first one. The first one, I don't like the mono.
That was great.
I do not like it. I have the ERC in mono, and I know Mazzy listened to that. I don't like the sound of that ERC mono. It's terrible.
It's terrible.
It's hollow.
Strange Days in mono is the way to go for me.
Interesting.
Yeah, they did a record store day about 5 years ago. That
wasn't very good.
Oh, I saw Fithin talking about it, and he was saying how you start with the self-title in the box set, and it sounds really kind of murky, and also each song sort of sounds a little bit different. I don't think it had to do with this version of it. I just think the mono one was always sort of problematic from the get-go. I never liked the mono self-titled. I don't know why, but it doesn't work the same.
I found the stereo debut on here better than the AP45, and I don't know what sources that analog production used for the 45, especially if there were issues. I don't know.
I know Kevin spent the most time out of all those albums on the self-titled because the source wasn't the greatest compared to the other 5 albums.
He did a good job.
He really spent a lot of time. He was telling me during the mastering process that he's really, really wanted to get this one right for everyone, and I believe he did. I think it sounds great.
Yeah, this is that reissue.
Hang on.
The reissue.
This one,
Doug Sachs did that.
There's a mono Strange Day reissue mastered by Doug Sachs that has great reviews. Is that yours?
Yeah, that's this one.
Oh, nice. So what year is that one then, George?
I have no idea. I've had it for quite a while.
Yeah.
I don't even know. And I wouldn't be able to see it in this light. Need to get new glasses.
So no, I just found that interesting that no one really talked about that he had to put in a digital source or digital part in that master tape when he did a heck of a job because no one noticed it. No one even knows where that was.
That thing stood out where I saw Will Robinson on the tape box.
We'll pull it out.
Then it said, "Oh yeah," and then it said, "Was that on the second or Waiting for the Sun?" Waiting for the Sun.
Waiting for the Sun.
That's one of I love that album. A lot of people don't like it, but I think this is a fantastic album.
George, your thoughts? Michael Chavez is saying in his opinion, the mono self-title was mastered for AM radio. Thoughts?
I think back at that point in time, everything
was mastered for AM radio.
So it says stretch repaired June 28, 2024. So that's Kevin Gray's writing
at
the bottom.
But look at the right above that. Danger, Will Robinson.
Will Robinson. We could be so good together. Big stretch, and it says dead underlined. Uh-oh.
So yeah, it's funny. When I was a kid, I remember this shot was there was a Life magazine profile on the New Rock. Jefferson Airplane were on the cover in these like plastic glass see-through cubes stacked up, and you went in all these great shots of like Cream and this shot of the Doors in the closet was.
That's a cool shot, huh?
I just love that shot. Yeah. Here you go, tape box.
Tape box, tape porn.
In case anybody's interested, there is a YouTube channel now that Sunset Sound runs, the studio where a lot of these recordings took place, and a lot of recordings took place, Pet Sounds all the way up to Van Halen records and everything in between. But it's a decent channel, and they'll get into talking about a lot of the sort of making of those records if you're interested.
Yeah, for the Van Halen stuff they talked about, that was really cool. I mean,
and they'll bring in an engineer who might even have some like old cassettes of some stuff that has never been released, and they'll play it. The room mics on You Really Got Me into or Eruption into You Really Got Me to prove that it was not an edit and that they actually did it live in the studio. They do things like that. It's pretty crazy.
It's interesting. It's really surprising. Okay, Rhino. Now, both Steve and I have been accused of being shills for Rhino because we like Rhino. But the thing is, a couple things. The Rhino people come up and talk to us. Yep. Okay, they put themselves out there.
Well, full stop right there. They're the only ones that talk to us. No one else wants to talk to us.
That's my point. Think about Universal.
Well, Miles Show talks to you.
He's
a contractor, he's not with Abbey Road.
Universal. Universal has great with Tone Poets and Blue Note, and Harley will come out, and Kevin who works on those, but Harley especially. Yeah. But nothing else that Universal does. They don't have a line to do all analog rock and roll. Now, occasionally they do, but you think Universal, the biggest friggin' company in the world, would do it. Same with Sony, Columbia stuff. MoFi, obviously, all that stuff is, from DSD, which so be it. Why don't they do an all analog line? Apparently, this new thing they did with Chad, the Blue Note.
They can't get tapes. They can't get tapes.
Yeah, so, but they got tape. They got tape for this new Miles Davis B version of Kind of Blue. Those are all analog. Maybe because they're the B versions, they're not the proper album. So
I also
just not the Beavers, but the B versions, right, Massey?
The B versions.
Okay.
Not the B.
I can tell you something That's just what happened along, the last 20 years. A lot of master tapes have been archived to digital.
Yep.
Everything has, I'm sure.
Well, George, look at that Doors box. Every single Doors box says it's archived to digital as well on those master tape boxes.
With the intention for preservation of the master, and then the tape, once archived in, let's just say, some situations, was not exactly totally perfectly cared for in a lot of situations. Tapes being stored in mass in less than desirable climate buildings in Los Angeles in the hot sun. It's just,
but Warner Brothers is doing it through their catalog reissue division, which is Rhino. You think that Universal and Sony could do a special line, like do 2 a month from whatever they are, have the equivalent of a reserve series. Now, I see in the comment here, someone named Pumping Vinyl says, Jason Rojas said the Doors box set doesn't sound any good. First of all, I have no idea who Jason Rojas is. And second, the Doors box set sounds fabulous. So that person's wrong.
I think the consensus is the Doors box sounds great.
Hi, George. Nice to see you again.
Let's see.
Man. They're
Oh,
coming
boy.
out in droves.
Jeez. Well, I was going to ask you then, Patrick, the Doors box back in 2009 that you're mentioning that was digital, who mastered that? Was that Grunman?
I think so. I don't remember, to be honest with you. I mean, I had it. I actually sold it. I actually traded it in Canada, in Vancouver, actually, in North Vancouver, that record store, turntable store in North Vancouver, called Turntables or something, I think it's called.
Yeah.
So went in there, had it, and they traded it for some Canadian pressings of Rush albums. So.
Is like the last time, remember, the guy Steve Berkowitz is the guy, not the son of Sam, that's someone else.
Yeah, that's not good.
That's the guy that worked for Columbia that did all the Dylan archive stuff, mostly the bootleg series and the Miles Davis stuff. He did that fabulous, 15 years ago now or 10 years ago, the mono.
The Bob Dylan box set?
That's all analog mono.
Do those.
Exactly. And he was hired by Apple to do the Beatles monobox as a consultant, and he did an excellent job. So I don't know why Sony doesn't do you're right. Someone mentioned the Legacy series, like a Birds box. I mean, talking about the Birds, there's never been a Birds box, and there's only 11 albums. They could do it in one box, all analog Birds cuts. Now,
stereo or mono, because there's mono.
Well, that's
stereo
the question.
up till what?
I'd go for stereo, but
but here would be the question: what if the sources were high res digital? Would you still want them to do it?
Well, I would like them to do the best they could, because look, the Stones was digital, and that's fabulous, right?
That's what I mean. I think sometimes the fear might be is that if the best master that they have available is digital, that backlash that they learned about what happened, you know what I mean? That they probably would be standoff.
But the Stones never got that backlash, though. But
the Beatles did. The Beatles did, which created the mono box.
Yeah, right? But the backlash. I remember this, and I wrote someone I knew at Capitol at the time. The reason it got the backlash wasn't as much the sound initially. It's because Rainbow in America botched not all, but a lot of the pressings. So you had to get the optimal ones in the UK if you wanted a good set. And so that led people to hate it. And then they found more reasons to didn't like it.
Well, the Beatles stereo box, they could have done all analog. They chose not to. It was a choice that they made. They could have done it all analog. They chose not to. In most of the cases where they can't do it all analog because all they have is the DSD or the digital step, or that there's something wrong with the tape, or the tape won't be let out, or as George said, the tape is compromised, whatever. But in the Beatles stereo box, they chose to do it, at 24.92. And by the way, the Beatles stereo box set sounds just like the solid state cuts of the 1970s. If you take them, they use those as a reference point, and they sound pretty much just like them with a little bit better bass. So if you want to shit on the stereo box set, you're pretty much shitting on the blue box. The Beatles blue box that came out in the 70s. So.
The Beatles mono box was in the queue to do digital as well. And I remember meeting a guy at a listening party who was working for Capitol, and he said, we just got the test pressings for the mono. It was going to be digital. And because of all the brouhaha and people like Fremer they put it on hold, It got delayed an extra year, and they ended up doing it all analog because of Fremer, and because I give him credit, and because the guy they brought from Sony, the son of Sam, Berkowitz. So because of the screw ups with the stereo, that's why we got the mono all analog. So people don't know or forgot that.
I think, well, yeah, some have, but I think that at the time when they did press from the digital, the stereo box, I believe they thought they were using the best masters that they had because they didn't want to go through all the hassle with tape and things falling apart and leader tape not, being, splicing tape, glue, all kinds of who knows what. I think that when they did the archival process of transferring all of those analog tapes into the digital realm, they thought that what they were doing was creating forever masters that they would use to go on forever. And it wasn't until that whole thing happened that now even people are even thinking about the difference between it. And it's kind of started with that whole idea of people saying, if I'm going to listen to a record, I want it to be all analog.
Well, the Beatles Mo-Fi box was all analog, and they botched it. The EQ shit is terrible on most of those records. And that was a rare time where the tapes actually went to Mo-Fi, to Doug Sachs, I guess, right? Did he do that?
Right. Well, I
forgot who did it.
It was it was Mo-Fi. You're talking Mo-Fi, right?
Yeah, but was it Doug? It was someone. I forgot who did it.
Stan Ricker. It was Stan Ricker.
Stan Ricker. I'm sorry. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
But at the time though, I think that a lot of people thought that was the best way to hear the Beatles. That sounded superior.
The Mo-Fi.
Well, you've got that abomination Rolling Stones Mo-Fi box set. So,
and it's worth more mint than the Beatles.
Yeah. Well, the Beatles, they're both horrible, but I mean, in my opinion, I just don't like either one. I've had both. I still have the Beatles here. So
that mint Stone box was like $3,000 on Discogs.
Wow. Like the Mobile Fidelity Stone box you're talking about, right?
Right.
Anyway, no major labels are stepping up to do a series like these, Rhino.
That's
I
Right.
always heard Stan Ricker was told by the head of MoFi at the time to pump up the treble.
That's what I heard too.
I heard that too.
On that.
Yeah.
So
we also learned that there's more than, I don't know how many MoFi box sets of the Beatles there are, because they actually pressed or printed lots of number ones, lots of number twos, lots of number threes. So
they did the after the box set, which didn't even have real covers. They had tape box covers and a booklet with the covers. They did individuals. Individual ones.
I see Magical Mystery Tour out there probably more than most. I see
it's like,
that one out there.
How much is that one? That used to be like $30. I remember seeing that for $30 any day.
And they used the wrong tapes on that, right? On the Magical Mystery Tour MoFi, I think.
They used, I think the story with that goes that for some reason, when the United States put together their hodgepodge album called Magical Mystery Tour and used those fake stereo things, when England kind of caught wind of it and said, "Hey, we might want to do that too. That's a good idea." It was like the first time where they conceded and said, "You know what? America's kind of come up with a good idea there." But what they did, instead of just pulling their own masters, they got a copy of America's master sent to them and then pressed off of that.
Yeah.
And the EPs, are those the EPs, the stereo EPs they did that with? Because
this is the LP this is the Magical Mystery Tour LP that the United States created.
Oh, I know, but I've never seen the full 12-inch Magical Mystery Tour in a UK version. I do have the stereo and mono EPs, which the stereo sounds horrible.
It's amazing that it took the Horzu German to make a good version of it. Right?
To prove that they adopted it, if you look at the box set, which is all the UK releases of Magical Mystery Tour with a capital rainbow label, is in the box set.
Canon now. It's canon in their albums.
They adopted it as part of the canon. Yeah.
Yeah. Chris Blunt's The Cup. I don't know that, Mark Lassman, if you're answering. I don't know that. I don't think I know that.
We don't even know if that's Mark Lassman. So.
You're right. There's exactly.
There's lots of people I don't recognize today. So,
all right.
So one thing, because sound matters, I think if everyone's excited, hang on. I got a couple of things to show you guys. We know that Dookie is going to be coming out. I don't know the pre-order date yet, but this is because sound matters. This is the one that they, I guess, came out in 2008. But I have the test pressing. Here it is. The test pressing of Green Day's Dookie, cut by Chris Bellman. And it's a one-step process. And it sounds incredible, guys. You guys will be really excited. This is 33 RPM double
So
LP.
did they recut that from the tape, or what?
This is all from the tape.
Okay.
Analog tape, one-step process, cut by Chris Bellman. And I have the test press, and I did listen to it last night. Very impressed. Beats the crap out of my. I think this is a 2008 cut I have here. But yeah,
I might get that.
I think you're going to really enjoy this one. Very wide soundstage.
I have a rip of the
Amazing.
green vinyl that came out as promo only to the radio stations when it came out. So that'll be a nice test. So
yeah, and this one again, I don't know when the pre-order is on this one, so hopefully sooner than later. But yeah, wow.
What's the limit on that one?
Looks like the White Album to me.
I think it's 3,000. It's not the White Album. It does say Green Day up there, but yeah, Dookie. But yeah, I was really impressed by this, and I think everyone that gets one, you'll be like, yeah, this is pretty awesome. One step analog, Chris Bellman, and then Katie Lang, Patrick, Ingenue, one step, cut by Chris Bellman from the analog tapes.
That's a wonderful record.
Oh my gosh, this guy's wow.
Yeah,
these are gonna sell. I mean, if you want.
So how'd you get a test pressing of Katie Lied?
From Grover Beery, who runs Because Sound Matters. He's been on the show a few times. I'm sure you know that. Yeah.
Right over the radar there.
Oh, you didn't? I thought you were joking.
No, I said Katie lied.
Oh, Katie lied. We're doing Steely Dan. I wore my Steely Dan shirt.
Katie Lang.
I thought he said that, but I thought, no, he just
Steely Dan's Katie Lang album.
Yeah. Katie Lang. I might have said Katie lied. I might have the Steely Dan thing. Who knows?
I was poking the Steely Dan bear there.
She's a Canadian.
I do that all the time.
You know that, right, Steve?
Of course she is. She's from, I believe, from Alberta, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Alberta.
Constant Cravings was a big song on the radio. Yeah. So I don't know when they're going to be available. I have no idea.
You can buy them in stores. Some stores carry those things. They're in stores. I mean,
but Dookie's Green Day. I don't know when that will be available for pre-order. I think that one.
Green Day's Dookie.
Yes.
You said Dookie's Green Day. I just wanted to.
Green Day's Dookie. I'm thrown off by all these comments. My God.
That sounds like a band that Patrick would play on his live stream, Dookie.
Green Day's Dookie, Katie Lang's album, Ingenue, One Step, Because Sound Matters, and I'm not drinking.
Was that band with Steve Howe? Asia, right? Was that Asia?
Yes. Yes.
Did they have a record called Steely Dan?
No.
Oh.
He was in Yes before he was in Asia, by the way, but yeah.
And Dookie's not to be confused with Duke Ellington, okay? Get that right.
Well, this place has gone to shit. Oh, sorry.
What did you bring? Okay, well, Patrick, you said you want to show the folks some of your stuff. Some Patrick P.B. Thal Stereophile approved recommended picks.
So I have two segments, 6 records. You know I do this quickly. So the first batch is going to be records that people often look for other pressings that they think is better. So this one is Deep Purple in Rock. It has the EMI there. This is a second cut by Harry T. Moss. The first pressing doesn't have the EMI on there. It's on Harvest. But the thing about this one is the original UK sounds pretty muddy and a little bit, it doesn't sound, it's not a great sounding record. This sounds miles better than the original. Like I said, if you look for HTM and the Dead Wax, you can probably get this for $20. Nobody values this record at all because it's a repress. And this is, to me, this is the one to have. Next, Who's Next? Everyone knows this album. This is a German Polydor. Everyone always wants to go for the UK, but across Europe, they all were cut by the same place, the Doug Sachs cut. Look for MG, I think 18888 and MG 1889 etched in the Dead Wax, and you get the same pressing. So I think this is either from Germany or this is from France. This is from France. Great quiet vinyl. Sounds amazing. Again, you can probably get these for $20, as opposed to like the original UK that goes for like 100. So, and last but not least, I'm not a Friday music fan, and but this version of Heart Dreamboat Annie
recorded in Vancouver.
Cut by Kevin Gray for Friday Music, is amazing. You can probably still get this one for pretty cheap, even though the originals don't go for a lot of money and they do sound good. This sounds so freaking good. If you can find this record and you love this record, this is the one you want to have. So I got 3 more real quick. So these to me are. I thought you were doing 2 segments, like 3 and 3. You're gonna let someone else go. Wait, if you got time, then I'll wait. We got more time. All right, no problem. I'll wait.
Okay, I'll go the next. I'm going to just start out my first segment, if I get two, is just two record store day things that I picked up. I bought on record store day, Black Friday. I'm pulling these because they sound really good, and I was surprised on one of them. David Grisman's Dog 90. This was never on vinyl before as a CD, so it's a double LP. If you know David Grisman, obviously a lot of people know played with Jerry Garcia, Bay Area mandolin player. It's newgrass, it's little gypsy jazz like Django Reinhardt, but it sounds amazing. A great recording. I don't know, a 1990 could have been a digital recording. I have no idea, but it's one of the. I put this on my stereo, and I just been doing. I replaced some speaker wire that someone cut for me a year and a half ago, and I finally pulled it out my credenza to replace the speaker cabling, and oh my God, this sounds really, really good. Now the other one happens to be a Rhino thing, so don't get your panties in a bunch. I bought the Hejera demos. Now I think there's a box set too, which I don't have. That it's like a Joni Mitchell box set, and I think Patrick Milligan, who you talked to, works on all the Joni Mitchell stuff, which are fantastic. But yep. I almost didn't get this, and I'm glad I did, because I love the later period, or middle period, I should say. Hejera is one of my favorites with Jaco Pastorius, and very jazzy, beautiful recording. This is, for the most part, acoustic, almost like folk versions of those songs, done in a studio, not in a home. So the sound is impeccable. It's really good, very acoustic. And if you're a fan of Joni Mitchell's guitar playing and her voice, this is worth picking up as a record store day. I kind of want to, teasing now, maybe want to get I think the box, isn't there a box of these outtakes around this period? Do you know this, Steve? I don't know.
I'm not sure.
I think because they've been doing a lot of the whole Joni Mitchell.
Patrick's in charge of the entire Joni Mitchell catalog, so I know he's doing a lot. Yeah,
it's really wonderful. So that's my first round.
That's a good round.
Doesn't Larry Carlton play on Hejera too?
He may, but it's just a 1976. What a great record.
Well, I'm stuck on Joni Mitchell's River song right now, because I mean it's Christmas time, and I think that's probably one of the best Christmas songs out there.
I mean,
of all time.
Yeah, this is so good. I've been playing this a lot, so it's really good.
It's a good album. George?
Okay. Yeah. I've only bought 2 records since
you've been busy. Yeah.
So you're in record buying capital of the world, and you bought 2 records.
This is the second Lenny Kravitz record.
Mama Said.
Yeah.
No.
Featuring Mrs. Carlos Santana on drums.
Double kind of LP. It's got Slash on there too, I think. Right? I don't know. I bought it because I hadn't seen it for a long time, and it's kind of hard to find an original. Just I think maybe because of the time that it came out or whatever. And also, it wasn't like I'm not a big Lenny Kravitz guy, so I'm not looking too much. But and then I had to go to Target one morning for work, and I knew what was going down. And by the way, did anybody watch the Beatles 64 thing?
Yeah, well, we can talk about that in a bit. I'd love to talk.
Okay, yeah, because I got some inside info. I talked to Doug.
I did watch it.
Douglas had a big long interview in there, and I emailed him the next day. He emailed me back. So they were just putting out the single version of this in sort of a blue vinyl Target exclusive thing. And I just wanted to buy it so I could compare it to the OG. I'm not really concerned about these records at all.
Did you compare it?
I think they overcooked them, to be honest with you.
Okay, hang on a second. So tell the folks what that means, overcooked them.
I think they're too hot. I think I would have preferred them to cut the albums a little bit quieter and keep the tone arm farther out and leave a little bit of more dead wax and just cut them a little bit quieter, because I know when I'm getting intergroove distortion, and I know when my turntable's not handling what's being played. But I mean, when you're listening, what's that last song on side 1 on this? It's something I think from Hard Day's Night.
Meet the Beatles? All My Lovin'?
No, it's not from Hard Day's Night.
Yeah. Well, I think they played it in Hard Day's Night. All My Lovin', right? Close Your Eyes.
They played a lot. Yeah.
Right. So it's totally distorted on my copy, almost all the way through the song, and it's not
really
pleased.
Distorted.
Kind of, it's like when you got a hot record with kind of a and there's all that kind of constant strumming, with the acoustic guitar, going on, and it's like it's inner groove distortion, and it just sounds like it's a little too crispy, and that was my takeaway on it.
Well,
I don't have the blue one. I have the black one, and
this is the black one. This is cut hot. I mean, it is a hot. These are all hot cuts, and they sound. I think they sound great.
I liked them, and I liked them better than the originals by far on them personally.
Yeah, and I have this as an original mono. This is the other one I'm going to buy just so I can compare it. This is the actual original mono from back in '64, and I'm going to get this one as a single. And I think their regular record stores are carrying these single, right? Like
yes.
This is the latest edition, the mono. It's funny. Right. I hadn't listened to the second Beatles album. I get a kick out of the track listing. Right, side 1, Roll Over Beethoven, Thank You Girl, You Really Got a Hold of Me, Devil in Your Heart, Money, You Can't Do That. I mean, it's so funny.
It's their rock and roll record.
Yeah. Hold on a second. Reverie says inner groove is because it's mono played with a stereo cart. Well, those were cut with a stereo head. I mean, they didn't use mono head for that.
No.
They stopped using that in like the early in like 60 or something, like somewhere around there. I don't know.
I do have a mono cart too, so but yeah, no, it's a little bit overdone. At least maybe these blue Target ones. I don't know. Maybe the vinyl's not good.
I mean, you can cut inner groove into a play. I mean, I have a Carolina County Ball by Elf, Ronnie James Dio's band. Every UK pressing, I've had like 5 of them, has inner groove distortion at the exact same spot on side 1 till the end of every single pressing I've ever had. So you can actually cut in inner groove distortion. If the needle cutting the album can't track it, you'll get IGD in the lacquer, and they'll all sound like shit. So.
See, George knows this stuff, but I was reading some things, and I know Revelry says it here. I think a lot of people don't have their table set right, where they're getting distortion. Or their cart, their alignments.
That's true. That's true of any album. Then it wouldn't be just the Beatles album.
But I think it's on these. It's kind of like that, the effect that it'll jump off because they are cut hot. But
I mean, anybody that has it, like Christopher, you said that you really like the Target Blue one. Go listen to just that last song, All My Lovin'. And maybe if you have another version of it where it's maybe farther on the outside of the LP, like a UK copy that has that on it. Didn't it appear on Hard Day's Night in the UK? All My Lovin', or is it on with the Beatles?
Now I forget. So you confused me.
Yeah, I can't remember.
I should know this.
I just remember they performed it. I thought on the movie.
But they performed a lot of the old stuff, like She Loves
You. Yeah, right. So but the thing is that if you listen to it. I've gone and listened to about 3 or 4 other versions of it, and it's just, it's what sometimes again, certain LPs will test the limits of your system, and it might be that it's pushing my system farther than any other record.
And I certainly think these Beatle cuts, Kevin Reeves, who cut them, I think he's testing the limits on these cuts. I really feel that way.
I didn't expect much at all from.
I didn't expect that.
From this, because I have every Beatle variation, and someone mentioned in the late 70s, early 80s, there's some that are purple vinyl. There's some they're the Wally cuts. There's some that have the rainbow again, and if you get a Wally cut, most of those sound really good. The American ones, but
do you think possibly, Mazzy, that it's the excitement of having a new Beatles product in your hands, of listening to it, the euphoria of having that, excitement?
Is that bias, maybe? No.
Well, I'm just saying it's a possibility.
There's some truth to that, but I've been really critical. I don't like hardly any of the Beatles remixes and new.
Well, we know that. You've been consistent with that. So has George. So I will give you that.
I kind of like what I like about the White Album box set. The outtakes, the Esher stuff is great, and there's a few things, but to me, Sgt. Pepper sucks big weenie shit because it's not consistent.
I just like the Sgt. Pepper mono.
Over the past 3 or 4 years that we've all been talking about the Beatles to the point where people were getting sick of it, nobody ever once said anything similar to, you really got to listen to those American pressings because they're really where it's at.
It's a total nostalgia 60th anniversary thing.
Right. There were times
I'm more acceptable because I was there, and so, but a lot of those, like I brought out my originals, and I keep my records good, but they're crackly. They're not great. And so and hearing more bottom and more highs, the cymbals, I hear more that I didn't hear on the American versions. And the configurations do bring a nostalgia. I will definitely
and just to finish that point, what I was going to say is, like, there always have been a couple of times you yourself, me, a lot of people would go, but they really kind of got Rubber Soul right. It had a whole different vibe. And so in terms of running order, there were some times where the American ones are fun to listen to, and they're an interesting way to listen to the record. It almost makes it a different record. That being said, I think it backfired. They did try to do a Capitol box set on, I think, CDs. But what they did was they took those remasters from 2012 and used the UK remasters and just re-sequenced them to be back like the American.
They did too. Here's the first set they did with terrible packages that opened up. They did 2 volumes. They never did volume 3. Didn't finish it. Those were the proper Dexter mixes. But then years later, they put the box set that emulates this. And you're right. They effed up. And they did the UK mixes. Like, why bother? But I will say one thing. Agree with you, Rubber Soul, to me, I think the American is much better. But another thing, and not that it's better, but Beatles' second album, there's no better rock and roll record, complete rock and roll record than Beatles' second, as far as I'm concerned. That record rocks of early rock and roll songs.
Yeah.
Michael Nolan saying Beatles 64 is a bigger yawn. He says the Beatles box, what do you think?
I think it's nostalgia-wise. I think it's cool. There's been a couple of twinges of, God, I'd like to have it, but then when I have to plunk down $300 or whatever, I go, no, I already have them.
Yeah, I think he's talking about the documentary. The first time I didn't like it. I saw it a second time with someone who doesn't know the Beatles or doesn't follow them, and she loved it. Okay, and I liked it a little more the second time, but. The big thing for me is I missed 2 years ago. Mary McCartney did a documentary on Abbey Road Studios.
Yeah,
that's fucking great. Excuse me.
Yeah, you can still watch that on
Disney Plus. And I missed it 2 years ago. And watching that after the Beatles 64 made the Beatles 64 worse, because the Abbey Road documentary is a really good documentary.
Yeah,
Beatles 64 on Disney. Any thoughts on that? You guys all watch it?
Yeah, so it's okay. I think it's better for non-Beatle freaks.
Yeah, I think you're not learning anything from it. Again, I had a personal connection to it because Douglas tells the big story about going there and getting, and then Lennon remembering about that article, that whole story that he tells throughout the thing. But besides that, just there was nothing about it where anybody that's remotely competent with the Beatles folklore.
I did watch the Stax documentary. I thought that was very good. I thought that was excellent. So
it made the Beatles 64 made Murray the K look more creepier than he actually.
That guy annoyed me. It was so annoying to see Murray the K. Like, what was up with that guy? I mean, that just wouldn't fly in today's day. That was annoying.
Yeah, he's annoying.
They allowed him in their hotel room. Here you go. Hey, baby, how are you? You're on with Murray K.
That's AM radio.
It's just like, ugh.
Yeah. He seemed like he was really high on something, definitely. But
didn't he follow them all the way in the train to Washington as well, too? Just like
a lot.
Weird.
Paparazzi.
But I guess he was big in the day because that's how you got your music. It wasn't the internet.
Yeah. That's why it's perfect when they did the Ruddles. Bill Murray the K was the character.
Okay, next round.
Okay.
Patrick.
So this I want to highlight members of the vinyl community that are musicians and put out great music. So we all talk about bands and stuff like that, but there are people that are around us all the time that are excellent musicians, and 3 of them have put out very recently some great records. So the first one is my good close friend. This is the album. He has a new album coming out. This is Project Gemini, What's on Your Mind. This is by Mark Kopernicki. Great prog, great guitar player, Canadian, born and bred, super nice guy, great
Love
music.
It.
And his albums sound phenomenal. They're, he does it in his home studio. This is digital done right, man. His albums sound amazing, and they're pressed at Train Records in Canada. They do an excellent job. He always throws in little extras, so I highly recommend it. Good, support that person. This is Ryan Kidd. This is his latest record, Dead in Memphis. Ryan Kidd is a punk musician through and through, has a great channel. Him and Doctor, I can't remember his name, he lives in Scandinavia, but they have a great punk show that I've learned so much about punk and power pop. And this is a great punk record. Like I said, Ryan Kidd, check that out, Dead in Memphis. And last but not least is Louis Golden. Sharon is Karen. Louis Golden is another person in the VC.
I love that.
Great musician. I think Joey Callio has a guest appearance on this. This is a good sounding, just great rock and roll record. Again, another person who's in the vinyl community, good person. So support them and check their stuff out.
Where do we find that? Where do we find it? Where do we buy it?
I think all three of these are on Bandcamp. I think all three are on Bandcamp. Louis Golden, Ryan Kidd, and Project Gemini. So.
Buy them.
Yeah.
I'm going to do a thing in January of all the local, like not local, but the VC artists that have put things out, like David Donnelly and those guys.
So I have David Donnelly. I have a 45 by his, but I don't have it handy. So he hasn't put anything out that I have.
Yeah,
for a while.
There's a handful. There's more. There's Michael T. In the Bay Area. What? Good evening, VC. You know that Michael.
I know who you're talking about, but I can't think of his name.
His stuff's kind of proggy, kind of cool, jazzy. Okay, I got 3 new records. People bitch that us old people don't show new music anymore. Now, one is an older person, and you may be grown because of the concept, but these are records that all came out in the last month, 6 weeks, month. One is Lucinda Williams sings the Beatles from Abbey Road. Now, during the pandemic, they came up with this concept of this series that she did, these kind of not pop-ups, but live things and YouTube, and they did these low-tech, cheap, one take, 1 day or 2 days at the most records. They did a Tom Petty one, they did a Dylan one. That she covers these things. Now, if you don't know Lucinda Williams, she's got this, she sounds like she has marbles in her mouth when she sings. So if you don't like her style, you're not going to like this, but she's got this swampy, bluesy rock thing, kind of a Southern drawl. And this is so good. The sound of it's live at Abbey Road Studios, and they recorded it over 2 days, I believe. And they only had a little window from a European tour they were doing, and they booked it. And, it's really good. It has the feel of like Get Back, Let It Be, where it's a live feel in Abbey Road. And she does the songs fairly faithfully. I think the only one doesn't work, but her version of like Don't Let Me Down, Rain, While My Guitar Gently Weeps, Your Blues, I'm So Tired. It's really good. I love that cover shot. So there's, obviously the door, Abbey Road there, and the whole thing. So highly recommended here.
Now, if they get the Beatles do Lucinda Williams, that'd be even better.
Right. Now, this one is not for everybody, but this made my number 2 of the best of the year that came out a month ago. And this is a new album by Kim Deal. Kim Deal was in the Pixies and then in the Breeders. This is her first solo record. And it's in a way like a little bit of a Julie London crooner, some Breeder stuff. She has this her voice is strange, and she's not a perfect voice, but that's what's great about her. So she'll do these kind of romantic love songs with lush orchestration, and she kills it. If you like this is the one record of this year. I always want to play it again. Kim Deal. Did I say the secret word or something? Is that
Nick? Is that Nick calling you there, George?
The cover is beautiful. The record is beautiful. Hello, mother. So Kim Deal, love this record.
He did mention she was in the Pixies.
Oh my gosh, it's still going.
It's Nick Fantasy. Nick Fantasy blowing up your phone.
No,
and lastly, Michael Kiwanuka. He did an album a couple years ago that was a little more upbeat. He is an English kind of neo soul, a little funky, but this is actually more low key, smoother. This is very reminiscent of Marvin Gaye's "Let's Get It On" and What's Going On. That kind of sexy soul vibe, and it's really a nice record. So these are 3 new records that came out in the last month. Don't just buy Beatles and Doors crap.
Yeah, that new technology is a bitch, George.
George can't figure it out. He's like, it's still ringing. What's going on?
God, I could do a 128 track mixer, but
Are
I
you
can't
grading
stop my
projects
phone.
tonight? Is that it?
Seems to be in Arkansas area.
Oh. So I finally got one of my Grails from Josh from High Fidelity Records, and it's Led Zeppelin 2. This is the classic records one here, and look at this. Look what was printed on. Some guy put promo copy on this with a Sharpie, www.classicrecords.com. Thanks a lot for that. But I mean, this is in pristine condition. Hardly been
33, right?
This is the 33. This is the Classic Records Bernie Grumman. It's a little, I'd say, bright. Yeah.
You think?
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
You could blast it. It's okay, but it's a little bright. I agree.
Yep. I'm glad I have it. I got a good deal on it. But yeah, that's why I got a good deal on it, because it's got Sharpie on it. But you don't play the album cover. And again, this album cover is in great shape too. But yeah, shout out to Josh from High Fidelity Records. Even during the Canada Post strike, he sent it to me. Courier. Love it. But I have the other ones too. I've got all four of them. You got the old Jimmy Page 2016, of course, and got the Ludwig and the Stan Ricker half-speed cut. So
I have a sealed MoFi of that.
Obviously, you'll know which my favorite is. It's pretty simple to figure out. Ludwig. I don't even mind the MoFi, Patrick. I think I'm hooked on the mid-range stuff on those MoFis. I really like the sound of it.
You know, whatever floats your boat, man. I mean, that's the beauty of it. You know?
I like the sound. I've had them for so many years, so I like the sound of it. I don't think it's just a bias
There's
thing.
nothing wrong with it.
I don't mind it.
I remember being in college, me and my friends. If I looked at the EQs that we would have, we would sit there. It was the gull wing. It was like start up here, and go down, and like just swoop. It was like the mid scoop, not the mid boost. It was like the mid scoop.
Yeah.
And I remember in my office having a CD player and always loved pushing the loudness button.
I always did.
I also remember back in the 80s that people used to complain specifically about Beatle records of having a little too much mid-range, and they, you know, the standard of the day was to kind of cut some of that mid-range back to get that hi-fi airy vibe. And so
it gave it that Japanese sound is what it did. You know, you sit there and you boost the highs and the lows and you cut the mids and you get that classic, you know, Japanese sound. But boy, were we idiots back then.
I have only one more record.
I'll go for it.
I have to learn a bunch of Ramones songs, and it's like a bunch of famous ones for something that I'm dealing with. But I decided to kind of go a little more obscure and deeper on the Ramones, and so this is the one I was just listening to, Animal
Boy.
I believe this is probably 86 or something like that.
Where does that fall in the canon of Ramones albums?
Obscure.
Yeah.
People forget about the 80s stuff. There's some decent stuff.
Yeah, it's different, and it just you know, I didn't. Everybody knows all the famous ones, but like I just wanted to try to listen to some Ramones that weren't like the standard ones that everybody, you know, knows, or at least I don't know. And so I just wanted to get a little more into them and to try to capture a little bit of the feel.
What was your take?
What was my take?
I mean, what do you like them, or do you?
Well, no, yeah, I've always had. I have probably like 10 Ramones records. But the earlier ones are the ones that I'm more familiar with, and the ones that, you know. And so when I got that 80s box set that came out, remember that one?
Animal Boy in that box set?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I had that box set, so I should be familiar with it.
Yeah,
we all have it. We don't even know it. No.
And I got that box set just because I wanted to kind of just, you know, flesh it out and go a little farther into them. And I think it's enjoyable. I don't think they ever broke character, so to speak, but they did sort of try to go into some a little bit different areas. And I enjoy all the Ramones, really. Sort of
1986 is it around there? That's when it came out? Animal Boy?
I believe so.
So what's the transition from classic Ramones sound to later? Is it Rocket to Russia? What's the
break? No, 1980 when Phil Spector came in and they did Rock and Roll Radio. What is that? You know, Road to Ruin? Is that? No, not Road to Ruin. What's it called? The Phil Spector red cover.
I can't remember the name of it, but I have it, I think.
It's Rock and Roll Radio. Sean Donahue from K-San did that intro, and that, you know, it's got the Phil Spector sort of sound that he produced. That's kind of where things change. After that, a lot of people stopped.
Yeah, and then they kind of had a little bit of a comeback, I think, because MTV started showing like Rock and Roll High School because they did the movie, right, the soundtrack.
Yeah.
PJ Sloan, whatever her name is, PJ.
Kind of had like a little bit of a
Paul
mini
Bartel and yeah.
And then I think towards the end of the 80s into like at the beginning of the 90s, I think they had a couple albums where they were sort of like made another little mini comeback, and people were paying attention again for a bit, but never the same as, the heyday. That's it. That's all I have.
Is there a Deep Purple box set?
That would be interesting.
Yeah, I wish Rhino would get the UK Masters and do that one.
Wait, didn't I hear something about they were doing like a later box set, like of the Mark? What is it, Mark IV?
You mean the Coverdale, Glenn Hughes, Tommy Bolin type stuff?
Yeah, or I think Richie Blackmore's kind of in that at the beginning, right? And then Tommy Bolin just comes in at the very end.
Well,
right?
you go Burn, Stormbringer, and then Come Taste the Band. So those are the three in that era.
And I think that's Richie Blackmore, Tommy Bolin.
Yes.
I'm going to comment on can I comment on a comment?
Which comment? I'll put it up.
Fairway Beaches. I read that kind of comment a lot. I'm not going to defend Steve. However, if you're worrying about people lying in the music business, there's going to be a long list of shit. That's my take on that.
Well, it's a lie that got caught and they had to pay for it.
Yeah, it's dumb, and don't buy it. But I tell you, their new pressing plant, Fidelity, I have I think I bought in the last year 5 new MoFis, the Lou Reed, Berlin, Bookends, and the first Dylan album, the Super Vinyls, a couple others. Oh, the Santana, and they all sound really good, and they're pressed perfectly. So, and we know they're digital now. Yes, we know, but I know a lot of people got extremely hurt and feel they lied, and they did. But it was a strange lie to do, and I think they totally. I think their biggest mistake is not coming out more and getting on these kind of shows and talking to people like Steve and
it wasn't Katie lied though, was it? It was MoFi lied.
Yeah. So
I bought all 3 of those after MoFi Gate. So
yeah, and you're right.
And
Rick,
I invited MoFi onto the show many
they
times.
don't want to do it. This is really too bad. Craig Wunderlich is an excellent mastering engineer. The Procol Harum he did the Salty Dog is excellent. Best version of that. And even though I'm not usually the mono fan, the double 45 Surrealistic Pillow is the best version of that album has ever sounded. Bare bones with
there's some truth there.
Yeah. Well, we can't judge what other people can. If you're hurt, then don't buy.
Oh, yes, we can. We can definitely judge when somebody says, "Oh, this sounds great." As soon as they find out it's digital, they say, "Oh, it sounds like shit." We can totally judge on that because it happened. It happened a lot.
Well, there was that.
I always like the sound of those MoFis when I didn't know they weren't digital. I still do.
Crappy. They're like the Young Rascals. They did the wrong one. They did the mono groove, and I love that album. It's great in stereo. That sounds like crap. But the mono sounds like crap of that album, and so. I don't know if it's their fault. So not everything they do is, gold.
No.
Okay. Do you have any more, Patrick?
No, I didn't want to pull too many records because it sucks.
I'm going to close out with 2. Do you mind? Do I have time?
Do it. Yeah, I'd love to.
These are new reissues that came out within the last 2 months. And one I wasn't going to buy because I have a white label promo. And it hasn't expanded. And everyone kept saying how great these reissues sound. And they're on, what label is this? They're on, Domino Recording. And this is John Cale's 1972 album.
It's a great album.
Paris 1919, Baroque pop, really good. Really, it sounds better than my white label promo, seriously. So sometimes reissues can sound better. Supposedly they're all analog. It has extra tracks. I remember when I talked to Patrick about the guys from Rhino and Kevin last year, whenever it was, and I pulled out a pile of records that I wish Rhino would do. This was one of them, but he said they didn't have the rights anymore to it. So it's great that Domino did this. It sounds spectacular. This one's probably not for everyone. This is the year before. And this is a cover by Andy Warhol with all these Kodachrome slide things. This is like neoclassical instrumental. It's got a little avant-garde, but it's really good. Also John Cale. So if you're a John Cale fan, want the more commercial Baroque pop thing of early 70s, and then the neoclassical stuff, this is a good twofer.
Is that die cut with the pictures on the inner sleeve? No.
Yeah, it's great. And they did the die.
Is it really?
Well, it's like
it's like an early kind of Some Girls vibe.
It's like a Unipack. Remember Unipack covers?
Oh, but you can't change the pictures positions by.
No, it's not like
a pull out.
The Faces album, Ooh La La with all that stuff.
Or Some Girls with the cutouts and you could flip it around, or physical graffiti.
Yeah, they did a really nice job. So Domino's done some good stuff. They also did that album that John Cale produced of what's the model singer from Velvet Underground?
Nico,
of course. That Nico album. John Cale produced it. That's really out there stuff. They put that out about 2 years ago too.
Not the Chelsea Girl, whatever.
Not Chelsea Girl, the one after that.
Oh, I do have one more record with Mazzy's.
Yes, go for it.
I forgot. So
go
I just got
and
this today.
Mazzy, you can close off with your last record for the show.
I just got this today. This is a band that nobody talks about. They're one of those bands kind of like Grand Funk.
Supertramp? They talk about Super.
Nobody talks about Crime of the Century. They all talk about Breakfast in America.
I talk about Crime of the Century.
Yeah, you do. But I mean, all you talk about is that frickin' Canadian reissue that was done in Japan.
No,
the audiophile pressing. So this is a UK pressing. This is done by Look for Tone and the Dead Wax. But if you want the best version of this record, this is it right here. So.
And Ken Scott did a great job producing and recording that record. That does help a lot.
Way better than what's the expensive one that I have that they did?
I got a Speaker's Corner version.
Speaker's Corner. That's one I have. That it's for crazy money. It's not as.
But I have that one. It does sound really good, Patrick. I have to.
Don't forget about Crisis, What Crisis, and Even in the Quietest Moments. Those are also classic.
Those are also great.
Supertramp had a pretty good run there for a while.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we're going to close the show with Mazzy's last pick of the night.
Oh, okay. Another record store day.
Climatic reaction there.
Another record store day, Black Friday, a reissue, and this is probably not the audience for this music, but I don't see why it shouldn't be. But this is the 20th anniversary, maybe, of The Richest Man in Babylon by Thievery Corporation.
Oh yeah,
I've got tons of their stuff.
Okay, it's electronica. Little house music, a little mixed sampling and stuff. Excellent record and a great pressing, great cover. I forgot who put this out. I don't even know what label this is. Primary Wave Music. Never heard of them. But I had the CD of this and I gambled on the vinyl and it's excellent. So I love this. This is the kind of stuff. It's nice to mix it up. Yeah, I buy all the Beatle crap. But
if I was wrong, I have nothing but Thieves, not Thievery Corporation. Sorry.
Yeah, I have that and Uncle. Was it? No, that's UNKL. That during the 90s and 2000s, I was really into a lot of electronica CD stuff and that and I love that stuff.
Well, we'll leave it at that, guys. I appreciate it. We're close to the holidays right now. I will let everyone know we got Hoffman coming back on. Steve Hoffman will be on the show. I'm just trying to get a date for that one to figure out when he'll be on live. So get your questions ready for that one. It might be my year-end show, so that'll be a lot of fun as well. And I'm still waiting for Miles Scholl to come on the show as well, so that'll be another one. So hopefully, maybe this year, if not next year. But guys, happy holidays! Thanks for doing this. This is really this is a throwback episode. Haven't done one of these in a
Christmas.
Yeah.
Hanukkah this year starts on Christmas, so we have both of those combined.
There you go. Well, thank you, everyone. It's been a blast.
God bless us, everyone. Yeah.
Spin some vinyl.
And Tiny Pat.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
So long.
See ya. Wouldn't want to be